Hi, everyone. Dan Cianci here for the second episode of our podcast. I'm with Jason Raitz from Speak with People. Jason, it's so great to see you.
Good to see you, Dan. What a great opportunity. Love these webcasts, partly because they're short, they're actionable, and I love how you've been able to arrange this to where there's some practical skills and tools that we're giving away right away. And let's just acknowledge from the outset, what we're laying out is not brain surgery. It's not. But what happens sometimes is we get so busy, we get so bogged down that sometimes we let some of these little things go, and then we start to see the referral flywheel slow down. And so that's why these moments are so important, to get these reminders and to engage in this type of content and conversation. And there's lots of great stuff out there. I just love that we're really focusing down on the financial centers and how to get this thing moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the episode called? It was called From Transaction to Trust, Coaching Bankers to Spot Opportunities. We really hit the nail on the head on this one. I'm already getting a ton of feedback from the text messages that there was a lot of actionable steps, as you mentioned. I love the fact that you started with the I'm curious strategy. I think that is such a great way to get this episode off and running. Just a reminder to all those that are listening, our goal in this episode here is to really dive deeper into the materials that we're presenting on our webcasts. So it's also a recap, but more importantly, what are we seeing inside the financial centers that we can help and improve upon to really boost the culture of referrals.
And when I
Jason's a great way of laying that out.
Well, and I love that we're kind of working on it in this, approach where every single brick is building on top of each other. And I love we started deceptively simple with it starts with hello. And the reality is not all of our frontline team are saying hello. They're not all smiling. They're not all their tone is not all welcoming. So just our reminders and coaching to them is so huge. And then today, yeah, it takes a while to build trust. And so we don't want just transactions. We want to build that relationship. And what I love about these little practices, I was in the morning sometimes get my day going. I'll watch some Tiger Woods reels, and it's just awesome. You see him at the Masters, you see the chip shots. I mean, just phenomenal. And one day I saw an interview with him, and the person interviewing was like, "What's it like, to be able to just, put the ball in the hole, to be able to putt from wherever you want?" And he's like, the interviewer is like, "Isn't it great to be that gifted?" And Tiger's like, "Well, if gifted means, sinking 1,000 putts a day, I guess that's so gifted." But
True.
that's, you watch someone like him, for all those years, top of his game, the Scotty Schefflers now. Those of you who are listening, if you're not golf people, sorry, this is in a golf analogy, but they don't take for granted practicing the short putts, practicing the long putts. They don't take for granted all those little things. And that's why I love this series, because we can't take those things for granted as well as leaders, because they all add up and stack up. Do you mind, Dan? Yeah, I guess we should have talked about this. Do you mind if I slap up a couple of the slides from the webcast? I don't want to give out too much, because I don't want
Sure.
people to feel, but
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll just add quickly here.
yeah.
Episode one is all about the hello strategy, right? And those connections so important. So what we're trying to do is when someone walks into the branch, you really want to have um, that person feel very welcomed, right? But once you build that connection, that rapport, what's next? And I think that's what we get so many questions about. How do I engage? Without sounding like a salesy, or without being awkward, or not having the fear. Like, how do we engage? And I think that's what we addressed, and that's what we're going to dive deeper on today. So if you got something you want to pull up one of the slides now, yeah, go ahead. Let's see it.
And that's it. And
Love it.
that's why, that led in perfectly to, we talked about those two powerful words, I'm curious. So you did all the stuff Dan just talked about, and where does it go? Well, it leads to the land of I'm curious. And I'll just pause there. As a leader, if you want to win with your clients at a level that you've never experienced, be curious. And when you're curious, you ask better questions. You're a stronger listener. You engage in what they're sharing. And so you're a story catcher. And so you're listening for all the cues. But what we talked about today was, there's this beautiful art of transition. And when you say the words I'm curious, we kind of broke down today. There's kind of three different segments you can do that. You can either say I'm curious and then ask a question. And so, that question can lead to those referral options. You say I'm curious, or you do somewhat of a connecting statement. And so you're able to connect the dots for them, or you give them some options. And so you say I'm curious, and then leave them with some options. And here's the reality: if you're watching this podcast, you probably already do this stuff really well. Now the tough part is you have to teach your frontline team to do this well. And that's what this entire series is about. And so you becoming coach, putting on the coach hat and going, okay, let's walk through some of these I'm curious statements today and practicing those. And that's the powerful thing of what happens in our team when we see those kind of things happen.
Now, I love this idea of I'm curious. I think it has a real impact. We talked about some of the prime examples that you can utilize inside the financial centers for frontline, employees. Um, do you want to give us a one or two examples we used in the webcast?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll go back to the slide. So like the first one was like you attach it to a question. I'm curious. Then it could be a question. Just as an example, it could be something like, I noticed you withdrew significant amount of money. Are you planning
How about
something special?
Jason? How about we kind of role play here, right? So
Yeah.
it's pretend that I'm a customer and I'm walking in with a $20,000 insurance check. You know, how would you engage, and then how would you turn that into an I'm curious moment?
Oh, I love that. So you do all the stuff that we talked about last week with the hello, especially if they're, a client, a customer that's been there. If you
Eye
learn their
contact.
name, powerful. If not, so now it's the I'm curious statement of, wow, I'm curious. You're, depositing a pretty good size check here. Are you planning something exciting? Would you love some, different ideas for investing? I could introduce you to and now you're setting them up to be able to think about that referral across the financial center. And that's the giant win of these I'm curious statements. It's not so it stays with the teller, the licensed banker, but now it moves to the other team members. And that's where the I'm curious statement, that's where we succeed.
And one of the things I'll add to that, and this is a conversation I had literally last night at a licensed banker um, dinner that we held with a financial professional, and this topic came up, and I'm curious, do you have do you have something coming up? But once they say, hey, no, I think I'm just looking for a CD or the best rate, or I don't really know what I'm gonna do with this money. It's really for my retirement or anything of that sort. You want to be careful that you don't say something like, oh, you need to talk to our investment advisor or our financial advisor or something to that extent, because a lot of individuals inside the financial centers are typically savers, and they get scared. They think sales, they think someone's going to come in and do high pressure sales. And I can tell you, a lot of the financial professionals that I work with are exactly the opposite of that. They're caring people that are going to do their due diligence and are going to really ask the great questions to understand what the client needs. One of the ways we kind of solve for that is, hey, you have to talk with our guy, John. He helps our most conservative clients achieve higher returns. So it's, would you like to sit down with him? He's great. He's a great guy. It's just simple statements where you avoid the terms, the technical terms, right? I think that works. It just
That's
kind
so
of
good.
eases that pressure. Hey, you got to talk to Jim. He's our guy who helps out our most conservative clients achieve higher returns with assessing their risk assessment or something. I wouldn't even say that. I would just say, hey, he's our guy. You got to talk to him, and that's where that trust comes in, Jason. Like once you build that trust with that client, week after week, month after month, you build that
Yep.
rapport. And that's going to hold weight. And you say, hey, you should meet with our guy John. He's the guy who helped all our conservative clients. He helped our best clients. You should have a conversation with him. Let me walk
Yep.
you over there.
I love that. And see, that's the type of teamwork that happens when we all get on this, we want to be a client first culture. And so client first thinks about not just one slice of the client's success pie, but every slice. And so we're constantly thinking, yes, I got to introduce them to John. They've got to be able to meet John. So you look for those I'm curious moments, whether it's a large deposit, whether it's a giant trip, whether it's a large, cash withdrawal, whatever those moments are. Yeah, you think of those I'm curious moments, and so especially in huddles, in training opportunities, great to be able to do those type of role playing, so you're able to talk back and forth, and be able to make those introductions. And that's why one of the things we talked about today was the 4-step coaching what we got to do. And so, we went through the 4 different ones. I hit a bunch of slides, sorry, but let me go back to this for a second. Uh, we actually gave in the webcast today some of these opportunity cues, to where it's like, okay, these are the things to be on the lookout for. Life events, existing product gaps, unusual transactions, body language or hesitation. So Dan, when you think of those, what are maybe some more specific examples that come up?
Yeah, I think life events is a big one, right? Retiring, you got roller opportunities, birth of a child. And these things can be uncovered with the I'm curious. Oh, I'm curious. You got a Ohio State jersey on. Did you go there? Oh no, my grandkids go there. Oh, you getting ready to retire? Those are the kind of conversations starters that are important. And what I love about um, these what'd you call them?
Opportunity
Opportunity.
cues.
Yeah. So once you got these opportunity cues, what I love about this whole thing is, as leaders inside the financial center, we want to be able to create, identify these and write them down and be able to have short, simple scripts for the frontline bankers to be able to, generate those conversations and
Yep.
some of those cues. I think that's really important, and especially when you think about obstacles.
Yeah.
Think about obstacles inside the financial centers. What are those obstacles when it comes to building a referral culture? This is something that we see on a regular basis. People tend to put up their own obstacles. I think that's the biggest obstacle, is that we put our self-imposed obstacles on ourselves. They're afraid of rejection. There's not enough time. I don't know, what are some other product challenges? Maybe I don't know the product that well, but these are all things that we tell ourselves on the front line that prevents us from using the I'm curious strategy or having the confidence to ask questions that are going to engage to uncover the opportunities to be able to make that transition. That fear of awkwardness is going to prevent us, but that's the
Yep.
very thing that we need to do and work through in order to get better and better. You have to have those awkward moments in order for you to have the ones where you feel confident and you build up that confidence to have a smooth transition between them walking in the bank, you saying hello to them, you connecting with them, and then being able to have that I'm curious moment, and then being able to make that transition from transaction to trust to get them to see the financial professional.
I love that. And I hate to do this, but I need to correct you on something. And so I apologize, listeners, hopefully this isn't too much conflict here. But if a customer came in wearing anything Ohio State University, Dan was incorrect. You don't talk to them, you ignore them. You shut down your lane.
And close the
Speaking
bank
from
down.
a University of Michigan, go blue. But that was right. Okay, on a serious note, though, what you did say, what also I think we talk ourselves into is we say the no's for our clients and customers without even asking, because we're like, oh, they're too busy. They're already going to say no. Oh, they probably are not even interested. They're going to say no. We can't say someone's no for them. I mean, we just can't do it. And so at the end of the day, if you're a client first culture and you want to help everyone succeed, then you've got to ask, because your financial center has incredible products that can take care of people's, outside of their family, one of the most important parts of their life, their security, their future. And so that's why those things are so incredibly important to be, make sure that we go through. And that's why we went through those I'm curious statements. One of the things that I did love that we talked about, and I'll put up this slide. Uh, we got to help our people not go into robot mode. And I don't know about you, but I've been in robot mode. And robot mode is where, like, we just see it as a transaction. We're like, welcome, good to see you. Okay, we're done. We can't do it. We got to treat every transaction like it's the most important. And so, how do we do that? I'd love your thoughts.
I mean, that's a great point, and it comes down to practice, right? Number one, you have to be authentic. Number one, number two, you have to be present, and you gotta be a people person, right? And everyone's got different personalities, but that doesn't mean there's different ways to
Yep.
have those connections and connect. And I believe that it's really important to just not put up those obstacles in front of yourself and be able to sit down and look at it with a client and be able to engage and refer.
Yep. And that's why, going back, if you missed, the first episode, those kind of things are so important. I mean, again, they're the little things, but teaching our team eye contact. We don't look down when we're talking with our clients. We look them in the eye. We stand up straight. We project our voice. I love, one of the best things I get to do is I get to lead training workshops. And I grew up, more information than our listeners need to know, but I was bullied a little bit, picked on. I was shorter, and so I'm just someone who, I'm not going to return that. Of course, I've probably done it before, but the only time I get close to picking on people is in these training workshops, when I'll call on people and they'll answer a question, and they'll speak real quietly. They look down, and I'm like, I'm gonna call you to a new level of influence in your leadership. Because one of the slides we showed in this, it talked about how I'm not just a teller, I'm a leader. And so
Yes.
when your frontline team believes that they have an important, essential part of the entire success of every customer, of every other person, look out. Because now you're not going to be in robot mode. You're going to be in detective mode. And you're going to ask the I'm curious questions. You're going to be looking for those opportunities, for those cues. And that's like, this is where I get really excited, because people succeed. And that's the amazing part.
Here's the secret, Jason. That I'm curious strategy is going to help you build the confidence that you need to have those conversations. I don't believe that you can have a referral culture without your frontline bankers having the confidence. So how do you get your younger generation, your millennials and your Gen Zs, to really have the confidence to talk to the baby boomers and the Gen X? And it's repetition and it's practice and it's being present. So if you're a program manager or a branch manager, or if you're a financial professional and you have a team that you're working with, it's really your responsibility to get in the trenches and really lead by example, and provide these resources and help them become better at communicating across generations, because ultimately confidence is going to lead to success. Without that confidence, you're not going to have the level of referrals that you want or that you need to be successful. Every single financial professional that I work with who is a top performer has really good relationships with their branch managers and their bankers and the people they work with on a regular basis. Without that, it's very difficult to be successful as an individual professional. And I feel that clients really pick up on that. When they walk into a branch that has a lot of good chemistry, I mean, I saw it the other day. I did a branch training. I actually did episode 1 training with a branch. And afterwards, we did an event. We went bowling. I mean, the chemistry between those individuals was so positive, and there was so much energy. Like I just feel it coming off of them. And I knew I just know they're going to be a very successful team. The advisor's relatively new, and he's new to the profession, but he's a worker and he understands, the idea of really doing the hard work. And more importantly, he's building up a relationship with the people in his branches to the point where he's selling the vision of success and they are picking up that vision. And we had this conversation, if he's successful in selling the vision to his bankers and they buy into that vision, his life is going to get so much easier, because part of that vision is getting those clients and getting them in front of him, not so they can make money or commissions. No, they're getting them in front of him so he can make their lives better and provide a better retirement for that client and
Yep.
their customers. And it's absolutely phenomenal to watch live in person. And there's no doubt in my mind that you have to build leaders, and you do that by example.
And I love what you talked about high performers. We hit on this earlier too. I mean, 47% of top performers ask for referrals from every client. Now, and then, banks with a referral culture see 15% new business more than those that don't. Now, it's not the cheesy, rehearsed, scripted. Oh, by the way, no, it's what we've been talking about through here, because you've been teaching them some of the skills. One of the things you hit on too earlier that I thought was awesome was that you can model some of these things without even having conversations. Here's what I mean. There are a million podcasts out there that will teach your team how to communicate. So, for instance, Gen Z sometimes gets a bad rap that when they talk to people, they look down. You know why that is? Is because Gen Z is our first digital generation, and they spend a lot of time looking down at their phone. And for them, it's just normal. That's what we do. And so some of us older generations grew up, being yelled at for not looking someone in the eyes, right? Like I can still remember my mom saying, "Look them in the eye, Jason." So, but you could find, there's great podcasts out there. Vanessa Van Edwards, who is brilliant. Go to her YouTube channel, The Science of People. I mean, short, actionable videos. Simon Sinek, Jefferson Fisher. There's a shameless plug. Speak with people. Go forth boldly. There's a million opportunities where you could just send out to your team, "Hey, check out this 3-minute video." And again, it just keeps emphasizing, it just keeps supporting, and you walk away knowing that you're coaching them to success.
The more you engage with your bankers, the more you're providing them links to watch 15-minute clips, 10-minute clips, the more you're going to have conversations, and the more conversations between each member is going to build the culture.
Yep.
Hey, did you watch that last night? Hey, did you hear? What did you think about this? Hey, those conversations around the water cooler, if you will, are what's going to help you build that culture. And when you build that culture, referrals will come. There's no question in my mind.
So, yeah, sorry, you said water cooler, and as you know, I'm a huge Office fan, and I'll never forget when Dunder Mifflin was purchased by a bigger company, and they took away the little plastic cups, and they had to fill up the big ones. And so I remember everybody standing around the water cooler just complaining. But when they are huddled up together talking, I mean, it's just great opportunities for you to, present those, types of opportunities. One of the things we talked about as well, and let me see if I could pull up the right slide. But we talked about this opportunity cue card. And, these are the little things that are easy, right? Print something off like this in a 3x5 card or a 4x6, with one side that just has the opportunity cues to look for, life events, large, deposit withdrawals, new pay stuff, account anomalies, product gaps. These are the things they need to put on that detective hat and be looking for. And these are the resources that, really can make a difference if you utilize them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Jason. So much good information here. I'm excited to do this again next week with episode 3. These are only going to get better and better, and we're watching in real time how this is having an impact. Week after week, inside the financial centers for those that are participating. So, I mean, I can't thank you enough to being part of it. I mean, I love partnering with Speak with People. We got a ton of content coming down the pike, and we're just going to keep doing these, and we're going to keep taking the feedback, and we are going to keep providing the content. So, I appreciate you taking the time today to do the recap here. Is there anything else that we missed or you want to add before
The
we
only thing
wrap
I'd
up?
add is get ready for episode 3 because it's one of my favorites. I mean, each one is building on top of each other, but this one is all about telling the story. And so I know I'm giving you a little peek into it. We didn't give a peek into the people who watch the webcast, but uh, and this is where so many leaders have told me over the years, I don't have any stories to tell. I don't know how to listen to someone's story. When you teach your frontline people how to listen and then story catch different pieces of their story. So, for instance, gentleman comes in, oh yeah, I'm so excited. I leave on a cruise, goes on the cruise, comes back, and that same teller says, how was the cruise? you, the flywheel is just spinning at that point. It's just spinning. And so, sorry, this stuff just gets me excited. That's why I love doing these with you. It's going to be awesome. And I can't wait for the next round of them.
The story's even better if he comes back from the cruise and he has a Michigan shirt on.
And he won
Right?
money and he makes a large deposit.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that story gets better and better. I
It's
mean,
better.
that's great. Well, everyone, thanks for joining. Jason, great seeing you. Can't wait to catch up for episode 3. You look for us on speakwithpeople.com, the YouTube page, and we are excited to continue on this content.
Thanks again.
Take care.